means it's pretty much in the middle of its life cycle at the moment. Long before then, our poor little planet will have become much too hot to live on. In 2 billion years, the sun will be 15% higher than it is now, which means the Earth will be like Venus is today. Nobody could live on Venus. The temperature there is also 400 degrees Celsius. But 2 billion years is a pretty long time, and human will almost certainly be extinct long before then, so that there will be nobody left to fly. Or maybe our technology will have advanced to the point where we can actually move the Earth out to a more comfortable orbit. Later, when the helium to run out, the sun will mostly disappear in a cloud of dust and debris, leaving a tiny core called a white dwarf, which will cool and fade. Supernovas and stardust. The story ends differently from stars that are much bigger and hotter than our sun, like the giant stars we were just talking about. The monsters burn through their hydrogen much faster, and their hydrogen bomb nuclear penis go further than just banging hydrogen nuclei to make a helium nuclei. The hotter furnace of larger stars go on to bang helium nuclei together to make an even heavier element, and so on, until they have produced a wide range of heavier atoms. These heavier elements include carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron, but so far as nothing heavier than iron, elements that are abundant on Earth and all of us. After a relatively short time, a very large star like this eventually destroys itself in a gigantic explosion called a supernova. And it's in this explosion that elements heavier than iron are formed. Even if Alta Carinae were to explode as a supernova tomorrow, that would be the mother of all explosions. But don't worry, we wouldn't know about it for another 8,000 years, which is how long it takes light to travel the vast distance between Alta Carinae and us. Do nothing travels faster than light. What then if Alta Carinae exploded 8,000 years ago? Well, in that case, the light and other radiation from the explosion nearly could reach us any day now. The moment we see it, we'll know the SLS blow up 8,000 years ago. Only about 20 supernovas have been seen in recorded history. The great German scientist Johannes Kepler showed one of the 9th October 1604. The debris has expanded since he first showed it. The explosion itself actually occurred some 20,000 years earlier, roughly the time the Neanderthal people went extinct. Supernovas, unlike ordinary stars, can create elements even heavier than iron, lead, for example, and uranium. The titanic explosion of a supernova scatters all elements that are stars, and then the supernova have made, including the element necessary for life, far and wide through space. Eventually, the clouds of dust, rich in heavy elements, will start the cycle again, condensing to make new stars and planets. That's where the matter of our planet came from, and that's why our planet contained elements that are needed to make us, the carbon, the nitrogen, oxygen, and so on. They came from the dust that remained after a long supernova lit up the cosmos. That's the origin of the poetic phrase, "We are stardust." It's literally true. Without occasional but very rare supernova explosion, the element necessary for life would not exist. Going round and round. In the fact, we cannot ignore the Earth and all the suns are the planet orbit the star in the simple plane. What does that mean? Theoretically, we might think that the orbit of our planet could be tilted to any angle to any other, but that is not the way things are. Although there is an invisible flat disk in the sky, the sun in the center, and all the planets moving on the disk, just a different distance from the center. What's more, the planets all go around the sun in the same direction. Why? It's probably because of how they began. Let's take the direction of spin first. The whole solar system, which means the sun and the planet, began as a slowly spinning cloud of gas dust, probably the leftover of the supernova explosion, like almost every other free-floating object in the universe. The cloud was spinning on its own axis. And yes, you've guessed, the direction of its spin was the same as the direction of the planet now orbiting the sun. Now, why are all the planets on the level on the planet disk? For explain, for complicated gravitational reasons that I won't go into, but which scientists understand well. A big spinning cloud of gas and dust out in space turned in form itself into a revolving disk with a massive lump in the middle, and that's what seemed to have happened in our solar system. Dust and gas and small chunk of metal don't stay as gas and dust. Gravitational attraction pulls them toward their neighbors in the way I described earlier in this chapter. They join forces with these and those neighbors and form large lump of metal. The larger lump, the greatest gravitational pulling power. So, what happened into our spinning disk was the larger lump became even larger and they sucked in their smaller neighbors. By far the largest lump became the sun in the center. Other lump large enough to attract smaller lump to them, far enough for them, the sun not to be sucked into it, became the planet. Leading from nearest the sun outward, we now call them Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All the list would be Pluto after Neptune, but nowadays it's regarded too small to count as a planet. Asteroid and shooting stars. Under different circumstances, another planet could have formed too between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, but a smaller bit and could otherwise have joined together to make the extra planet were prevented from doing so, probably by a brooding gravitational presence of Jupiter. And they have remained as an orbiting ring of debris called the asteroid belt. These asteroids swamp in the ring between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, which is where the extra planet would have been if they had managed to get together. The famous rings around planet Saturn are there for a similar reason. They could have condensed together to make another moon. Saturn already has 62 moons, so this would have been a 63rd. But exactly stayed separate as a ring of rock and dust in the asteroid belt, the sun's equivalent of Saturn's rings. Some of the debris are large enough to be called planetesimal, sort of not quite planet. The largest of them, called Ceres, is nearly 1,000 kilometers across, large enough to be roughly spherical like a planet, but most of them are just misshapen rock and bits of dust. They collide with each other from time to time, like billiard balls, and sometimes one of them gets kicked out of the asteroid belt and may even come close to another planet such as Earth. We see them quite commonly burning in the upper atmosphere of shooting stars or meteors. Next, commonly, a meteor may be large enough to survive to an ordeal of passing through the atmosphere and actually make a crash landing And 9th October 1992, a meteor broke up the atmosphere and a fragment about the size of a large brick hit a car in Peekskill, New York State. A much larger meteor, the size of a house, exploded between Siberia on 13th June 1908, setting fire to large area of forest. Scientists now have evidence that an even larger meteor hit Yucatan in what is now Central America 65 million years ago, causing a global disaster, which is probably what killed off the dinosaurs. It has been calculated that the energy released by this catastrophic collision was hundreds of times greater than would be released if all the nuclear weapons in the world were simultaneously exploded in Yucatan. There would have been scattering earthquake, epic tsunamis, and worldwide forest fire, and the dense cloud of dust and smoke would have